Hey everybody, welcome back to another channel update where I give you a lot of details about my health problems if you care about those. But I wanted to make this video to basically explain why I'm going to be changing my schedule a little bit in the next 3 months again, but let you know what my schedule changes are and why, and if you care about that sort of thing. The short version, if you don't want to watch the whole thing again, the short version is that I'm going to take like a vacation, sort of. I guess vacation mode is what I'll call it for the next like 3 months. And during that time, I'm going to be putting a lot less time into content creation like YouTube and Twitch, which is unfortunate, but the goal is to reduce stress. It's basically, I've learned about a medical condition I might have, and the way to solve it is basically to massively reduce stress for an extended period of time. And a lot of my stress comes through my work just because I really care about what I'm doing and I'm very passionate about it. And so I basically need to, according to these doctors, need to scale back on how hard I'm working. And that means YouTube and Twitch. So basically I know I don't have an official schedule that I really stick to right now with anything, but I've still tried to stay consistent with at least one stream per week, trying to average 2, and then a YouTube video every 2 weeks. Those are probably going to get slower, potentially much slower. I don't know how much slower, we'll see. But kind of the whole point is that I'm not going to commit to stuff for this period. And yeah, like I said, I'm still going to work. It's just a lot less. And hopefully this helps with the health stuff I'm dealing with. So that's a short version. And then if you want a whole bunch of fucking medical details, here we go. Basically, like I said, I just want to explain like why I'm making this decision. And that's important to me because, as I'll talk about later, this isn't a decision I want to make at all because I really fucking love my job, and the idea of taking a 3-month vacation is fucking insane to me. So I want to give the context, and it starts with the previous channel update video. If you haven't seen it already, there's one channel update video I made where for like 20 minutes I talk about this sleep problem that I have had for basically my whole life, where my sleep problem is weird and I still don't know what it is. But the quick summary, I mean, you should go watch that video if you haven't and you care about this, but the really fast version is that for my whole life, about 50% of the days that I wake up, I do not feel like I got good sleep. I don't feel like I got restorative sleep. I'm physically tired on those days, but I'm especially mentally tired, and I just cannot think clearly, and there's sort of like fog in my brain, which sucks on its own because, you know, it makes life less enjoyable. But it also sucks a lot because of my job, and I can't really do content creation, especially streaming, but also, you know, editing, just any sort of, you know, creative thinking that's spontaneous and improvisational. It's extremely hard, if not impossible, to do that on days where my brain is just in this foggy state where I can't think clearly. And as I talked about in my last video, this sort of mysterious sleep problem, which I've been unable to solve, is the main reason why I am so inconsistent with my Twitch streaming, why my YouTube stuff seems to be off, and why I don't do, let's say, more, you know, collab or community type activities. It's really all this fucking sleep problem, and I'll try to wrap this up quick. But 5 years ago, I started really investigating this stuff very hard. I've seen a lot of doctors since that point. I've tried every single common, you know, cure that you can think of, like not looking at screens before bed, cutting out caffeine completely, melatonin, all the things that you can find on the internet. I have tried, and went really hard on some traditional medicine applications like sleep apnea, which did not help, and allergy medicine and treatments, which did not help. So that was where we left off at the last video. And since then, I've been trying more things, and most of them didn't work. Those include an elimination diet, where I did this really extreme diet where for like a month and a half to 2.5 months, it was like no dairy, gluten, beef, eggs, soy, caffeine, sugar, no sugar at all. I think there's a few others in there as well. It's like very, very, very strict diet to see if I had any crazy food allergies. I do not, so that didn't do anything. I switched to nasal breathing because I read this book called Breathe or Breath. The one by I don't remember his name. Anyway, it's so they talked about all these different breathing techniques that people do and about the importance of nasal breathing through your nose. So it's like, okay, maybe that is something to do with it. So the past few months, I've completely switched to nasal breathing. So now I only breathe through my nose. Actually, I guess I just slightly inhaled through my mouth. Maybe you noticed this on stream because now I like go in between my like little speeches and whatnot. And when I run and when I sleep. So I tape my mouth shut at night, which is a thing people do. So I've been doing that for months. Didn't do anything, but supposedly it's healthier for you. Did various blood tests. I don't have lupus, unfortunately. I tried 2 different breathing techniques. One is Buteyko, which is insane, where you just breathe less. Another is Wim Hof. And I did a cortisol blood test to basically test the cortisol or like adrenaline levels in your blood. After all of that, I actually got 2 really interesting pieces of data. And you got to understand that for 5 years now, for the most part, just nothing works. Or if it does work, it's very temporary. Like, and then it moves on and nothing is working again. So I've never, ever in 5 years of this been able to piece together what exactly is going on. And there's always these little data points where me or a doctor thinks that maybe we've figured out like, oh, it could be this thing or this thing, but it's never landed in a consistent way until potentially right now. So 2 things happened in the past few months. One is that I've been doing the Wim Hof method. If you're not familiar with Wim Hof, he's this insane Dutch guy who he basically does these breathing techniques and these ice therapy techniques, which have helped him and a lot of other people who follow the method increase their body energy and increase their immune system health. And what specifically that means is it's like 20 minutes a day of this like intense breathing that you follow along with him. And it gives you this crazy like body high, as well as cold showers. So he wants you to do both of those things, these breathing and the cold shower. So you're getting your body used to the cold. So I was doing that all of November. I started in November, which, month and a half ago. I was doing cold showers every day along with this breathing. And this means like all the way cold, and it's fairly cold here in Washington. So this shower's as cold as I can for like up to 2 minutes. Not a crazy amount of time. But over the month that I was doing this, and I did it every day, these cold showers, I noticed I was not sleeping well. Like quite bad, actually. And so on December 1st, I wasn't really streaming much at that time. That's a large reason why. And on December 1st, I think, like 2 weeks ago, I was like, let me just try not taking a cold shower. And I didn't, and I immediately slept well that night. I was like, what the fuck? So then I did a cold shower the next day, and I slept bad again. Or I did a cold shower, and I slept bad the next day. And then I didn't take a cold shower and slept good again. And I was like, wait, what the fuck? So taking a cold shower for 2 minutes in the middle of the day causes me to sleep bad 100% of the time. Like, what? That makes no fucking sense. That is weird. And my interpretation of that is that my immune system is horrendous. Like, how else would a 2-minute ice cold shower at 2 p.m. cause me to sleep badly all night? That doesn't make sense. And that started to line up with some other symptoms that I have. For example, I get really, really, really cold at night. I need to wear a shitload of blankets when I'm sleeping and turn the heater way up, way more than other people I know my age. For whatever reason, I seem to have this incredible intolerance to cold at night, even when it's super warm. And that's always been weird, and I've never been able to figure out why that is. That's like another one of these weird data points that keep popping up all over the place. Another one is, why is my sleep worse during allergy season? That doesn't make sense because I went and treated allergies. I did all the allergy treatments, and that didn't help at all. And so I have these weird data points where it's like, why am I super cold at night when I'm sleeping? Why do allergies make me sleep badly, but I don't have allergy symptoms, and fixing the allergies didn't fix the actual sleep? Why now, if I take a 2-minute cold shower in the middle of the day, am I fucking sleeping bad? These things don't make sense. But if you start to piece those 3 things together, you're like, wait a minute, maybe your immune system is super fucked up. And then I got my cortisol test back. I am probably going to say some of this medical stuff wrong, so sorry if you're somebody who knows better. My understanding of all this is that cortisol, basically you have the adrenal glands in your body, which are located here in the kidneys or above the kidneys or something. I don't know. Fucking somewhere in your body. And the adrenal glands produce cortisol. Cortisol is essentially the stress adrenaline hormone in your body. I don't even remember if it's a hormone, the stress adrenaline thing in your body. So when you're stressed out and you go into fight or flight mode, as an animal, and we get stressed out and we need adrenaline and whatnot, that's cortisol firing in your body. On top of like those emergency moments, you have a sort of daily cycle of cortisol, of this like adrenaline, where your adrenal system, as you would sort of expect, your cortisol is really low in the middle of the night. That's when it's lowest. But then it starts to rise a few hours before you wake up. So the idea is that by the time you wake up in the morning, your cortisol levels are at 50% of their peak. And then about an hour or two after that, around 9 o'clock, then your cortisol levels go the additional 50% up to their peak at like 9 a.m. And this is why in the mornings, our bodies are supposed to be the most sort of focused and energized then, because our cortisol levels are highest. And then they drop for over a few hours, and they're slowly going down throughout the rest of the day. As you fall asleep, they hit its lowest point, and then the cycle starts again. That's what a healthy cycle looks like for your cortisol. So I got the test back, and when I was doing this, I was like, well, my cortisol levels are going to be super high because I'm really stressed out all the time. I'm like a really stressed out person generally, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But, I'm like a very functioning anxious person. Like I've really gotten a handle on it, I feel like, even though I'm super anxious. But since I am super, super anxious all the time, my whole life, I was like, okay, my cortisol levels are going to be super high, right? Instead, we get the test back, and I reviewed it with my mom, who is familiar with this stuff, and my cortisol is super low. And that is, as I just mentioned, the very opposite of what I was expecting. So I'm literally like, if this is the range of healthy individuals in my group throughout the day, where it, goes up in the morning, then goes down, I'm like below the whole time. Not only that, like I said, your cortisol is supposed to rise as you are waking up. Like at 3 a.m., it starts to rise, so that by the time you wake up at like 6 a.m., it's like 50% of the way up. And then over the next hour or two or three, it goes up to its peak, then it starts dropping down. So when you wake up, you're supposed to be at like 50% of your max cortisol. Instead, when I wake up, I am at 0. I am way low. Then my body creates over 100% of the cortisol, or I guess it must be 100%, but it goes to its peak in like an hour, and then it starts plummeting downwards. So essentially the interpretation of this, both with people with these labs who are familiar, as well as other folks who are familiar, and I'm going to talk to more, the interpretation of this is my adrenal system is fucked up, because that's wrong on two levels. One, it means when I'm sleeping, which is obviously a big clue here, when I'm sleeping, my cortisol levels are not producing correctly. They're not even being made at all. So that when I wake up, I'm at 0, which might explain how fucking awful I feel. And then they spike crazy high up and then fall all the way down to out of range on the low levels for the rest of the day, which would also explain my like insane low energy when I'm feeling really shitty. And so it's like, whoa, okay, this is not only not what I expected at all. What is that? I mean, this could mean other things. And then you look into it, and this is called adrenal fatigue. And adrenal fatigue is this syndrome. It's a syndrome where your cortisol, system is all fucked up and out of whack, and especially if the levels are low. The idea of adrenal fatigue, you could kind of, probably figure it out from the name. But the idea is that your adrenal system is so overworked, like the system in your body that creates the stress hormones has been so overworked for such a long period of time that it now just like can't keep up with even normal levels. You've basically like worked it into an unhealthy level, and it can never recover because it's constantly under stress. And as a result, I now have these super low levels, and it's not kind of following the normal pattern throughout the day. And lo and behold, the symptoms for adrenal fatigue exactly match up with what's going on. Poor sleep, intolerance to cold, immune system being really depressed, because the cortisol is what activates your immune system. So if something happens to your body, for example, a cold shower, or for example, allergies, you need cortisol in your body. You need a healthy level for your body to be able to activate the immune system response to deal with it. And so for the first time in a really long time, all the weird fucking data points of what I'm dealing with suddenly make sense under this umbrella of adrenal fatigue, which is showcased by this blood test. And I mean, technically it's a saliva test, but it shows how much cortisol is in the body. And it's like, holy shit, this could be it. Like this has more promise than anything else, because in the past, all the data points just felt so disconnected. And now it's like, wait, this all sort of this makes sense. This could be adrenal fatigue. As a result, I'm like very optimistic. It's very exciting to have a thing which might work. That's not to say it's definitely going to. I've felt this way many times over the years, but this is I have a lot of cautious optimism. I should give a disclaimer here that adrenal fatigue, what I've just described, a lot of Western scientists and doctors don't think it's real. They think it is like, oh, you're just like depressed and you're just overstressed out and whatever. And it's not like a syndrome that you can fix. But there's a number of alternative medicine doctors, some of whom I've talked to and now read about, who basically fully disagree and say, no, this is a real thing. There's all these symptoms of it. There's a consistent pattern. You can look at the cortisol levels in the saliva to see this, and there's an actual system that can fix it, which we've shown. So there is a little bit of debate about whether this is, a legit syndrome or whatever. But basically how I feel about it is that the traditional Western medicine doctors, I've tried all their stuff already. And mostly they just want to give me drugs, and those drugs didn't work. I should probably mention now, I tried antidepressants earlier this year as well, over the summer. Like, again, for this reason, it was just like, see if anything happens. That was another suggestion from like traditional doctors. And unfortunately, none of those things worked. And so even if this adrenal fatigue syndrome and the way to approach it is like considered alternative, I'm gonna fucking do it because it's the best shot I've got, and traditional medicine has literally nothing left for me to try. They've got nothing left. So let's go with the folks who say, no, this is a real thing. We've figured this out. Here's what you can do. Okay, so that's all the positive stuff, which is great. And I got a book called Adrenal Fatigue from like the leading guy, James Wilson, who does all this stuff and has treated many, many, many thousands of people who've had this condition. And theoretically, if I can fix this thing, my sleeping gets back to normal and I can start living a normal fucking life and have a schedule and like interact with people more and do more shit, which is what I really, 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 really want. That's why all I want is just to fucking sleep normally finally and be able to plan my life instead of having this like insane up and down unpredictability every single day. So I read through this book, Adrenal Fatigue. Good news is he says this is totally fixable. And the two ways that you do that are, one, to massively reduce your stress over a sustained period of time. We're talking like 3 to 6 months minimum. Massively reduce your stress during that period of time and supplement it with a good diet and a whole lot of supplements like vitamin C, for example. And the idea is that, your system is basically exhausted. Your adrenal system is way out of whack because it's just been so depleted for so long. And you need to have a sustained period of time where you are putting the minimum amount of stresses on your body so that it has the chance to recover and giving it all the fuel it needs to actually get back to a healthy point. And then you can go back into sort of normal life and your system has recovered. But until you create this sustained period of recovery where your body is going through like the fewest amount of stress as possible, it's never going to be able to kind of get over that threshold and get back to healthiness. So, you can probably tell where I'm going with all this, but the first part of this is supplements, and that is easy. I can take fucking supplements. One example is you take a shitload of vitamin C, which I am now doing. Apparently, the adrenal system uses vitamin C to sort of, I don't know whether it's create cortisol or use at some portion of that process of creating cortisol in a healthy way. Some portion of that uses a lot of vitamin C. And you have to supply it with a lot of vitamin C for it to be able to like start going into the quantities that it needs. So that is an example of something I'm going to take a lot of. Various other vitamins like vitamin E and a bunch of other stuff. I've been talking to my doctor about other things to help ease stress like ashwagandha and magnesium. Apparently a lot of salt. Apparently I need a lot of salt, which is fine. Let's drink a lot of salt. But the hard part and the more important part is to reduce my stress a lot. How am I going to reduce my stress? Well, this is going to, obviously change as I keep trying things and figure it out. I'm like meditating every day, for example. I'm spending like an hour a day on that, exercising almost every day. But the key, very obvious thing to me of how I can reduce my stress dramatically for 3 to 6 months is to work a lot less. So we've now finally come full circle. Now I'm kind of getting into why am I going to be in vacation mode for the next 3 to 6 months. So I want to just quickly talk about like why I find my work stressful, because and this is really like why I want to make this video in the first place, is just to make sure that I really clarify my thoughts on this, because the worst case scenario for me would be like, hey guys, like this job's stressing me out. I'm taking 6 months off. Like, I don't want that because I love this job and I would feel horrible and I want to do more. The analogy I have is that it's like running. Like YouTube and Twitch for me are like running. I run like 4 to 5 days a week. I've been doing it for many years. And running exhausts you, right? Even though I fucking love running and it makes me feel amazing afterwards. It makes me feel satisfied. It is tiring, right? And you need rest afterwards. And if you're just running nonstop, it doesn't matter how much you love running. Eventually your body is going to start to break down and have issues. And then you might need to take a long recovery period because you've gotten an injury from pushing yourself too hard. That's how it feels to me. I do think I've been pushing myself too hard with YouTube and Twitch, especially over the last year and a half once I started streaming. The main reason that I think this job is stressful for me personally, besides the obvious things of like, you know, I'm putting myself out there in front of people, in front of like hundreds of thousands of people every week. It's like, it is a little, you know, weird, right? The human brain is not meant for that, I don't think. But for me, the main source of stress is actually trying to keep up a fast pace with YouTube and Twitch. Like I try to get out as much stuff as I possibly can as fast as I can while also dealing with this sleep problem, which basically is this roulette where every day I wake up and find out if I feel like garbage that day. So because of the sleep problem, I can't stick to a consistent work schedule, even though I really want to have a consistent stream schedule or at least stream a consistent amount, even though I really want to have a consistent YouTube schedule or at least have a consistent amount of YouTube videos. But because every time I make any sort of schedule, then the sleep will just, you know, spike up or down and dramatically change the schedule, I end up falling behind. So then I always feel like I'm behind the schedule that I've made for myself. So then I try to work a lot harder to make up for it. So either I feel like shit because I slept super bad and my body is physically exhausted and mentally exhausted, or I feel good and then I work like 10 to 11 hours a day to try to get as much as I can done on those good days, right? Or like work super hard for like 7 or 8 hours straight, which just means I'm never really relaxing because you know, on the days I feel good, I'm working. On the days I feel bad, and it's hard to relax on those days. And as a result, it's not that the work that I do is stressful. Like I don't find, for the most part, I don't find like making a video stressful. I love editing. I don't find streaming stressful. I love streaming. It is the pace that I'm trying to keep up and like the timeline that I'm trying to keep up, despite the fact that my health just throws these massive wrenches in it constantly. That's, I think, the main source of stress. And then I feel like, I mean, every single week that I don't stream 2 days, which is most weeks now, I feel super guilty about that. Like when I'm late on a YouTube video, I feel super guilty about that just because I want to do more and I want to be my best. That's just how I am as like a kind of type A personality. Like I want to do shit and I want to set an aggressive schedule and stick to it. And then when I can't, I feel like incredibly guilty and stressed out and that like I'm letting everybody down. I want to be very, very clear here. I am not saying that my audience stresses me out. That's not it. You guys are unbelievably supporting. I am like constantly blown away by it. And when I've made these update videos where I talk about this stuff and I say like how I'm having struggles with these things, you guys are absurdly supportive. It's just one of those mental things. It's that thing where your brain always thinks there's something more you could or should do, right? At least that's how my brain works. It's not that I genuinely think people are out there being like, Doug, you didn't stream 2 days this week. Fuck! I think it's the fact that my brain is sitting there imagining all the disappointment of people, or just imagining like, you could go do this thing, Doug, and you're failing at it, right? Even though I rationally know that that's not legitimate, even though I rationally know that people are supportive, it's just the human brain, man. It's a real dick. And my brain loves to do that stuff. And as much as I feel like I've gotten massively better at handling my brain and sort of, you know, I know to like go on a walk if I'm really stressed out. I have all these like quotes that I have a document that I go to for specific moods to help me like not let my brain, you know, go too far off on its little tangents or whatever. This is just part of the deal, you know. It's part of having a human brain. In that, in a situation like I'm currently in, where I'm doing YouTube and Twitch, and there is technically like always more I could do. There's always something more I could do every single day, every single hour. There's always more work to do. It never, ever, ever stops on YouTube and Twitch. Because of that, my brain loves to always think about what I could be doing right now and stresses me out about that. And then I think the pacing that I've sort of tried to maintain over the past year and a half has allowed my brain to really feed itself and feed those anxieties, even though, again, it's not real, and I'm fully aware of that. And just like in my last video, I want to quickly state, I'm not asking for pity or anything here. I think lots of people deal with anxiety. I don't think this is unique. It's just the particular brand of, stuff I deal with and work through on a daily basis, which I think is fine. But given the setup that I have right now, where my brain loves to yell about stuff, and I've been trying to maintain these 1 to 2 streams a week and YouTube video every 2 weeks. I've been trying to maintain that for so long. That pacing has really caused me to feel like I can't rest. I don't really feel like I've ever taken a long vacation because I always feel like I'm behind. So I always feel like I shouldn't take a vacation because that's time I could be spent working. It's all to say, like, I love my job so much. I feel so incredibly grateful for everything I've had, but the pace at which I've been trying to do it has meant that I'm sort of pushing myself very hard, nonstop, and my brain has endless fuel for anxiety as a result. To reduce stress, given all the context I just said, I think I need to dramatically step back how much I am working on content for the next 3 months as part of this fixing adrenal fatigue thing. The 2 ways I want to do that, and maybe this will change, but right now, one is just to work less hours every day. I'd say on average, I average like 8 hours a day of like fairly hard work. I'm going to try cutting that down a lot. I won't say how much, just because again, I don't want to commit to stuff publicly, but it's just to say I'm going to really limit how many hours I can work. And the other thing is that I really, really need to stop having a timeline or like a minimum amount of things that I'm doing every month. So basically in the past, I've been trying to stream 1 to 2 days a week. Right now, I need to basically say I cannot commit to that at all. And I might go weeks without a stream now. That's not to say that it'll actually be that infrequent. I don't know. But what I really need to do right now with this video is publicly say there's going to be weeks where I don't stream, maybe multiple weeks in a row where I don't stream. Same thing with YouTube. And I need to feel for an extended period of time as part of my health that I'm allowed to do that. And even after my last update video where I said I wasn't going to schedule my streams, I still mentally had this standard for myself of I was shooting for 2 streams a week and a video every 2 weeks. And unfortunately, as much as I would really, really, really fucking love to do that, I need to fully, completely say, no, sorry right now. And that can't happen for some temporary period of time. And I'm hoping here that by removing the pace of creation that I've been trying to maintain, that it should massively reduce the stress. Like if I have a week or a day or whatever, where I just need to go super slow in order to not be stressed out, that I feel like I have the permission to do that without thinking, fuck, I'm letting everybody down because I'm not streaming. You know what I mean? Hopefully this makes sense. I do want to reiterate that I fucking love my job, and it's just, God, I'm so grateful I get to do this, and I'm so grateful to you guys that you support me being able to do this. It's just insane to me, like, and I never ever take it for granted, which ironically is giving me so much stress about this decision, because I worked extremely hard for 5 years to try to build up my YouTube channel, and I just hit 1 million subscribers, and my Twitch is doing great. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to fucking take a vacation. That is the stupidest shit in the world. And for me, somebody who like works hard and is very driven, this is like the most gross concept possible, that I would like do all this work and then just step away. And it's, it's like, I don't think the channel is going to like die if I'm not putting out stuff as often. But it could, and like that's a fear too. And so ironically, this deciding that I'm going to do less stressful stuff is insanely stressful to me. And hopefully it is a testament to how much I love this job, which is why it's hard for me to do this. Like if I had a decision between being really, really low stress for the rest of my life or getting to work super hard and make a ton of shit the rest of my life, but be kind of stressed the whole time, I'd take the latter any day of the week. I love working hard and I love doing this. But at this point in my life, I have a medical thing going on where it does not appear like I get to make that choice, because it seems, especially this year, that the harder I push myself, the less hard I can push myself because my body is just like breaking down. So the decision is kind of made for me, even though it is scary. And with every single scary decision I've ever made, I know this is the right call. It's the right thing for me to do long term. Like when I step out of my own shoes and I'm like looking at it from it's like, obviously fucking go take a vacation, Doug. Like what the fuck are you doing? Stop pushing yourself, take a vacation, get healthy, and then come back for the long term. Outside of my brain, the answer here is fucking obvious. It's not that big of a deal. But in my brain, it's, it's a freaky decision. But it's clearly, I think, the right thing to do right now. Worst case, this whole adrenal fatigue thing that I'm trying, all these crazy fucking vitamins and shit. Worst case, this doesn't work, and the lack of stress doesn't help with my sleep. But then I know. And I can go on to the next thing and see what else is out there. But this is the most promising thing I've had in a while. And so, I have to do it and see what happens. So like I said, at least 3 months for this. He says 3 to 6 months is common for people, but it can take longer. So I don't fucking know. We'll see. I will update you guys in 3 months on how I'm feeling. I'm probably not going to talk about this super frequently in the meantime, because I think that would kind of defeat the purpose if I'm evaluating, if I'm min-maxing how much I'm losing stress. That's probably going to add more stress. But I'm hopeful, and honestly, I'm very, very grateful for everything. So yeah, man, life's full of stuff. But thank you again for being here. Thank you again for being supportive and wonderful. I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday season. Hopefully 2021 is much better for everybody, because it's been a little bit of a year. But I appreciate you all so much. All right, love you. Bye.